Good evening and welcome to our candidate forum. Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Lori Higgins and I am the moderator for this evening's forum, as well as the president of the Metro North Chamber of Commerce. Our goal in tonight's candidate forum is to provide residents with an opportunity to learn more about the candidates and their positions on various issues. I'd like to note, as a resident of Blaine, I cannot vote for any of these candidates. We will ask 4 prepared questions. Responses will be in rotating order. There will be a short period of time at the conclusion for audience questions, so please use this time to write your question and submit to city personnel. I am pleased to introduce the candidates for Anoka County Commissioner District 1, John Heinrich and Betsy O'Berry. Thank you both for being here tonight. So each candidate will now have 2 minutes for an introduction, and then we will get started with the questions. Ms. O'Berry, you have 2 minutes for an introduction.
Well, thank you, Lori, and thank you to the City of Ramsey for allowing us to sit down for this forum and inform our citizens. And most of all, I'd really like to thank all of you who are here either in the audience or who are watching this on television. It's really important to become an informed voter, and I know that for a race like this, for County Commissioner, it's more difficult to get good information, and so I really appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to actually get good information. Again, my name is Betsy O'Berry. I'm a retired certified public accountant. I have owned my own business. I have advised many other businesses, and I think that translates very well to actually helping to advise the business of Anoka County, which is really what our commissioners do, is they help to manage the business of the county. Doing this is a continuation of work that I have done in the past. I am a 31-year resident here of Ramsey. I have been married to my husband, Jeff, who's here for 37 years, and we raised my son, Nick, who is also here in the city of Ramsey. This has been my home, and I appreciate the opportunity to live in a beautiful place like this. So I look forward to the additional questions and working with all of you as your Anoka County Commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Heinrich, you have 2 minutes for an introduction.
Well, thank you for being here this evening. Thank you, Lori, and to the City of Ramsey for hosting these forums. My name is John Heinrich. I'm running for Anoka County Commissioner District 1. That includes the cities of Anoka, Ramsey, Nowthen, and St. Francis. So I grew up in Coon Rapids, graduated from Meadow Creek Christian School in Andover, now Legacy Christian Academy, in 1998. And I joined the Marine Corps in 1999. One big reason why I joined the Marine Corps is my grandpa was in World War II in the Navy. And I remember at a young age, one of my earliest memories of my grandfather, he passed away quite a few years ago now, but he was showing me some of his Navy uniforms. And I remember at that time, I wanted to be just like him and many others that have gone before us and served our country. And so that's kind of where I started out as an adult. Being a military police officer in the Marines. I was deployed to Iraq in 2003 when we first crossed the border in Iraq, and went back again in 2004. Ended up spending 8 years in the Marine Corps. Came back here to Minnesota, met my wife, Jessica. We've been married 18 years now. Our oldest is 17. We have 3 kids, and we live in Anoka, not too far from the fairgrounds, actually, just off of Highway 47. I've been an active volunteer in my church, Stepping Stones Emergency Housing in Anoka, Anoka Community Mission. I help run a business that does asphalt and concrete work. I serve customers, clients, and my employees. We have between 15 and 20 employees over the past few years, and we actually have to make payroll every week. And so I'm used to making the sacrifices needed that a business needs to do to keep everybody employed and keep the customers happy, as well as being a father and an active member in my community. I grew up as my mom was a teacher and my dad was a pastor, and I've always had that heart of service. I'd like to continue to do that as your county commissioner.
Thank you. We will now go to our prepared questions.
Excuse me, Lori.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm sorry. I thought I got confused about the order. Sorry.
All right. So we'll go to our prepared questions now, and there's a 2-minute time limit for each answer. So we'll begin with Mr. Heinrich. Why are you running for county commissioner, and what skills and talents would you bring to the office?
Thank you, Lori. Well, I touched on some of those things. But one big reason that I'm running is because I just love my community. And if it's not in this position in any way, I've always enjoyed serving others. My dad always taught me that things will come and go, but people last forever. And so relationships are very important to me, and working well with others is very important to me as well. And we didn't always agree in St. Paul. Some of you probably know I was the state representative for the cities of Ramsey and Anoka for 4 years on the Republican side of the aisle. Ended up getting redistricted in 2022 and losing the city of Ramsey of redistricting. They cut off city of Ramsey, gave me Western Coon Rapids. Ended up not prevailing in that race. But since then, Commissioner Matt Look had resigned end of February, and so this is an open seat. And I had many people from my old constituency in city of Ramsey reach out to me and say, hey, John, here's an opportunity to come back and represent your friends in Ramsey again. And so going forward, I think some of the other questions will cover this, but I'd really like to concentrate on our public safety issues. We'd have a very big spirit of lawlessness that's been allowed to be pervasive, especially in our neighboring county to the south. And we've seen that kind of across America. Fortunately, Anoka County has been a leader in keeping our community safe, and I'd like to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll repeat each question. Ms. O'Berry, why are you running for county commissioner, and what skills and talents would you bring to the office?
Thank you, Lori. So I consider running for a county commissioner as a continuation of all of the work that I've done throughout my life. I have served as both a corporate controller and as a certified public accountant advising other businesses, but I've also been very active in the community, including being president of my church council, Cross of Hope Lutheran Church, right here in Ramsey. And I've also been active in my profession. I have taught classes to other CPAs. I've been the past president of the American Women's Society of CPAs, and I've also written articles for a journal that you've never heard of called The Footnote, which is the State Society of CPAs journal. I see Chris just, another CPA said yes, he knows what that is. So this is really a continuation of the work that I've done. And you know, Anoka County is really a special place. In the past year, as I've been watching Anoka County government meetings, we've had a number of awards that Anoka County has gotten for our parks. We've gotten awards for innovation, and I'd like to make sure that we continue that. And I think we need to have somebody who's got a good, rounded business background who can help with doing all of those things. So this is a continuation of my work to make sure that Anoka County continues to be a wonderful place to live, work, and play. And I will approach that by making sure that we have good transparency so that you know what your government is doing, because you deserve to know that. That we're collaborative, so we work with each of our cities. St. Francis is a lot different from Now Then, and Ramsey is different from Anoka. And we need to honor those differences and make sure that we're working collaboratively with each of those communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to question 2, and we'll begin with Ms. O'Berry. What do you believe is the greatest need of the residents of Ramsey and Anoka County, and how would you go about advocating for this need?
Well, I think one of the things that our city people have certainly heard is that we really have a lot of transportation needs here. The city of Ramsey had a lot of building that happened in the 80s and didn't set aside money for renovation of their roads. And so that means right now we're paying for a lot of new roads. That isn't really something that we, as a county, we can work with the cities, but the transportation system can be very complex because we have state roads, we have county roads, and then we have city roads. And I will be an advocate for transportation here in Anoka County. I'm pleased to see that we have Highway 10 finally being finished. This is a problem that we've been working on. Our city people and county people have been working on for decades to get Highway 10 completed. And I do want to mention, you know, as that work is going on, we have a number of businesses who are located on Highway 10. And I would urge everyone who is either watching this online or who is here to make sure that we continue to go and visit those businesses. They need to have your patronage even during the difficult times of the construction that we're doing. I do want to point out, and John hates this when I point it out, but he knows that it's coming, that in the legislature, he was one of the people that voted no for the bonding bill that brought us Highway 10. I will be a consistent advocate for our roads and bridges. One of the other pieces of transportation that I'd like to see, that's working on east-west access. We also have some needs for north-south access, including a redesign of Highway 47, which has a huge amount of traffic. And in 1993, when we moved here, we were told that in 10 years there would be a bridge across the Mississippi River. And I am still looking forward to working on getting that bridge built so that we can alleviate some of the congestion that we see on Highway 169.
Thank you. Mr. Heinrich, what do you believe is the greatest need of the residents of Ramsey and Anoka County, and how would you go about advocating for this need?
Support for law and order is our biggest need in Anoka County. We have a county to the south of us here that has not done that. I know I mentioned this earlier, but it's so important. So I'm the candidate that's endorsed by law enforcement, Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. I received that endorsement because during the time when push came to shove in St. Paul, so many people cozied right up to the anti-defund the police people. And so this was very harmful for our community as well. And so I look forward to working with Chief Caters here in the city of Ramsey, Chief Peterson, city of Anoka, and our county sheriff, Brad Weiss. I'll tell you what, Sheriff Stewart really set the bar high as far as law and order and keeping our community safe. And now Brad Weiss is fully capable and I think doing a fantastic job so far. He was the police chief of Coon Rapids for over a decade, I believe. I've done ride-alongs with the Ramsey Police Department and the Anoka Police Department and the Sheriff's Office. I'm familiar with the problems that they deal with every day. We cannot wane on our support for law enforcement. So I see that as the biggest issue that we are going to face. Fortunately, like I said, we've been in great hands. And so we haven't had the types of problems that we've seen some of our neighbors have. But we need to keep that support, and so we don't have this pervasive spirit of lawlessness start to prevail. So this helps everybody. We saw in Minneapolis multiple businesses burn, houses burned down, and people of all communities very affected by the lack of leadership, a severe lack of leadership at the state level and the county level there in Hennepin. And so I want to do my part to keep that from happening, making sure that we're funding our county attorney's office to hold criminals accountable, and funding our sheriff's office and giving them the needs that they desire as well.
Thank you. Moving to question 3, we'll begin with Mr. Heinrich. Transportation is a concern for many Ramsey residents. If elected, what would be your priorities when it comes to transportation infrastructure improvements for this area?
My opponent talked about a bill, a bonding bill. That was the reason she brings that up is because it was my bill that I chief authored for Highway 10. She's right. We had worked on this. This is a community effort for multiple years. But when I got to the state legislature, I had a lunch meeting with the Speaker of the House, Melissa Hortman, and met with others and got along with them well. And I requested to be on the Transportation Committee. For those of you that don't know, when you get elected to the state legislature, if you're in the minority, you don't get to choose what committees you're on. They tell you where to go. But I was very fortunate to be and honored to be able to be put on the State Transportation Committee because I knew after talking to the residents of City of Ramsey and Anoka that we needed some action on Highway 10. Just down the road here we had the Kitchen Table restaurant. I actually brought the Transportation Committee out to Ramsey. We sat down at the table with City of Ramsey and the full Transportation Committee, minus one member, I think, but the chair was there, the vice chair, and multiple other DFL members as well. And we talked about the needs on Highway 10. And we crafted a bill, chief authored the bill. It went before the legislature. We were able to pass it in committee. One thing that happens sometimes in St. Paul is they pile together, I'm sure you guys have heard it, omnibus bills. They pile together hundreds of things. And so my opponent's right. She has me there. I voted no on that ultimate bonding bill that had hundreds of things in it. Now, I disagree a lot of the time with my Republican colleagues there. I wasn't a rubber stamp like we see a lot of people in St. Paul do that. I think for myself and I make the decisions that I think are right, and that's how I vote. And that's how I'll continue to vote in the future.
Thank you. Ms. O'Berry, transportation is a concern for many Ramsey residents. If elected, what would be your priorities when it comes to transportation infrastructure improvements for this area?
Well, I think we've continued to work on, as I had mentioned before, finishing Highway 10. We want to make sure that we patronize the businesses that are on Highway 10 so that we keep our businesses here in Ramsey. And I just have to mention, it's one thing to say you did all of this work. We don't know what work my opponent did on the Highway 10 bill. We do know that when the chance came to actually vote yes for it, he voted no. So I don't know what he did in the background, but I do know that if you actually are supporting something, you should vote for it. The Bible says make your yeses mean yes and your nos mean no. And, and I'm a certified public accountant. I've been a tax accountant for a long time. I've had to give people good news and I've had to give them bad news. And I'm a pretty straight shooter. I'm not going to tell you one thing and then do something completely different. And so that's all I'm going to say about Highway 10, but we are also working on Highway 65 here in Anoka County. I'd like to get more work done on the bridge. And as I said, Highway 47 really needs a redesign. I had the privilege of talking to one of the residents who lives along Highway 47. She's living in the house that her parents used to have, and she grew up there. When she was growing up, Highway 47, St. Francis Boulevard, had 2 to 3 cars per hour. And that's a lot different from what we're seeing today. And so what my biggest concern is that as a business owner, I think that when we do things, we need to do them right the first time. And I'd like to see us redesign Highway 47 with a plan for the continued development that we're seeing up north in St. Francis and in Now Then, so that we can handle the traffic of the future.
Thank you. Question 4, we'll begin with Ms. O'Berry. What is your vision for the county's development over the next 5 years?
Well, as I mentioned before, we live in really a special place here in Anoka County, and I'd like to make sure that as a county we continue the great innovation that we have had in the past. Part of that means that we keep our employees. In the past, Anoka County tried to get by not giving people raises, not actually paying people what they were getting paid in other counties. And so we became known as a place where you train people. So people got their training in Anoka County, and then they went some other places. And they didn't just go to Hennepin and Ramsey County. Small counties like Isanti County were stealing our employees because they could live here, drive that direction, and be paid better. And so we need to make sure that we continue to train and keep our employees and keep them motivated so that we continue to have great work done here in Anoka County. As I mentioned, we need to finish some of the roads that we're working on, Highway 10 and Highway 65. We need to work collaboratively with our cities as they continue to develop. And one of the key things that I'd like to work on, a vision that I have, is that we have a more transparent government. Earlier in September, actually it was in August, we had a vote on the new jail. And Anoka County needs a new jail. We know that that's coming. But rather than listen to the citizens of Anoka, the county board in less than 24 hours before a board meeting added the site for the new jail to a board agenda. That is not transparency. We need to give people an opportunity to know what's happening in their own districts, in their own cities, so that they can help us make the best decisions. So those are things that I'd like to see as we work forward in this special place in Anoka County.
Thank you. Mr. Heinrich, what is your vision for the county's development over the next 5 years?
Well, we need to make sure that Anoka County stays a lucrative place for businesses to come do business and families to come live and individuals to live here and work and play in Anoka County. One thing that I'd like to advocate for is bringing metro mobility to the city of Ramsey. This is something I worked on a little bit as a state legislator. It hasn't happened yet, but I have those relationships in St. Paul that I spent 4 years building, and some good trust relationships with Democrats and Republicans. And so I'd like to continue that. I also chief authored a bill for Highway 47, which got passed as a $50 million towards a bridge over those railroad tracks, which are considered the most dangerous in the state. Now, 2 weeks after I submitted the bill that I drafted, Governor Walz showed up and did a press conference there. He didn't call me and invite me, but we were able to highlight the need there. And so I feel like I've been a great advocate for our transportation needs here in Anoka County. I'm going to be the person that's a check on regulation and overtaxation. When I talk to Ramsey residents, one of the biggest concerns right now, aside from our transportation safety upgrades that we need, aside from support for law and order, is just the extra taxation. Our Ramsey residents here have had to, and throughout Anoka County and our state, frankly, have had to really tighten our belts. And under the Biden economy and the inflation, it's been really tough for people. And so I want to get to the county board and pour over the different needs in the budget. And as we administer what comes down from the federal government and from our state legislature, we need to be fiscally conservative and make sure we're looking out for people's money. It's not government's money, it's yours. Also, another thing I'd like to do is look at upgrading our software and our hardware and our computer systems at the county level as well.
Thank you. We will now move to audience questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. The first question is as follows. Some of our commissioners are full-time and some are part-time, keeping their present jobs. Will you be a full-time commissioner and give up your regular job? We'll begin with Mr. Heinrich.
Well, my regular job is I help run an asphalt company, and so I will continue to do that. I don't have to punch a clock at the company that I run, and so I'll be able to do the county commissioner job. But yeah, that should be a concern for people, is what type of time commitment. Frankly, when I was in St. Paul, I wished that some people weren't there to vote because I didn't like how they voted. So I will show up for every meeting I'm supposed to be at and work off hours and on hours to advocate well for Anoka County as your next commissioner.
Thank you. I'll repeat the question, Ms. O'Berry. Some of our commissioners are full-time and some are part-time, keeping their present jobs. Will you be a full-time commissioner and give up your regular job?
The short answer is that I will be a full-time commissioner. The Anoka County has a budget of approximately $365 million a year. That means that we're spending $1 million a day on infrastructure, social services, records, all of that sort of thing. We have 2,200 employees and a diverse group of businesses, including records, as I mentioned, infrastructure. We have a lot of decisions that we need to be able to make, and we need to be able to dive deep into that. Now, I mentioned before that I am a certified public accountant. I'm one of those nerdy people who gets into spreadsheets and looks at what processes we're using and how we're working with people. I want to tell you that the Anoka County Commissioners make something in excess of $90,000 a year. I think that for $90,000 a year, you should have a full-time commissioner, and my promise to you is that if you elect me, I will earn it.
Thank you. We will now move to the next question, and we'll begin with Ms. O'Berry. Ms. Berry, what are your thoughts on the bigger the government, the smaller the individual?
Well, that question came up in a previous forum, and I thought that was very interesting because I think a lot of us see government as a check on some of the forces that come against us. So we have a problem in this country with monopolies, and those monopolies are costing us a lot of money. They are monopolies in drug prices. We're starting to see monopolies in terms of ownership of homes and rental apartments. And government has an opportunity to provide a check on those monopolies so that you actually can work and live a good life. And so I really don't see that government makes us small. I think government protects us from polluters. It protects us from from junk fees that people want to be stripping out of our pockets constantly. And so government is us. We are the ones who decide on what our government is. And I think that government does a great job of actually protecting us from some of the forces that would make us very small.
Thank you. Mr. Heinrich, what are your thoughts on the following? The bigger the government, the smaller the individual.
I've never heard that quote before. I'm not sure if somebody just came up with it or if that's quoted by some famous economist in the past. But I'll tell you what, if you look and you draw a line through history and you find where the government was very large, you generally find greater the poverty. And where the government is smaller and the people are empowered, you find greater freedom. And so this is a basic principle that we've seen. We can see it in Venezuela. throughout Europe, Russia, the USSR, the difference between East and West Germany. One, the government was very restrictive, mandative, probably under good intentions. A lot of people with great intentions probably wanted to make sure that it was a right that everybody had food, so they made a law that everybody gets food. Well, 6 million people ended up starving in the USSR because of that type of mindset. So I am a free market economist. I believe in free markets working. You can choose to patronize a business or not. And so if a business isn't doing a good job for people, you're not going to go there. If a business is acting racist, if you feel it, you're not going to go there. I'm not either. And my time's up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's why I'm here.
Be nice to have more time sometimes for these tough questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your understanding. We will now go to a 1-minute closing statement from each candidate, and we'll begin with John Heinrich.
Well, thanks again to the City of Ramsey and Lori and Metro North Chamber for hosting this forum and others. I think this is my opponents and I have had, this is our fourth, maybe there's still another one or two to come. We're starting to get to know each other and how to respond in the different things, but my opponent's been very gracious. And, you know, I do have a record. My opponent doesn't have a legislative record. She has ran as the DFL endorsed candidate multiple times for the legislature. In 2016, she was an electorate for Hillary Clinton, one of only 10 DFL activists that were sent to vote for Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. And so our ideas are probably a lot different from each other, but I do believe that we both care about our community. I think I'm the best option for you in City of Ramsey and Anoka County, for your county commissioner, given my experience and my support for law and order, their support for me, and my ability to run a business and still make the correct votes as a county commissioner for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Betsy O'Barry, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Thank you so much. I'd just like to remind members of the audience and those of you watching online that this is a nonpartisan position. And, you know, our job as county commissioners is to take care of the residents of Anoka County. And, you know, and I always bristle at my opponent's attempts to try to make this a partisan position, because I think that vote on Highway 10 and other things were some of the worst parts of partisanship. I am a business owner, a former business owner. I am a business advisor. I am willing to work full-time to dig into what we need to do and how we can continue the great innovation that we've had here in Anoka County. I am working hard to represent you, and I promise that I will work just as hard as your commissioner as I'm working to become your commissioner. I look forward to serving with all of you, and I ask for your vote. If you want more information about me, you can look at my website, betso.org. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our forum. I would like to thank our candidates and CJ Luck, the equipment operator, for making tonight's event possible. Please remember to vote on or before Tuesday, November 5th. Thank you again.